As the butterfly's cozy environment cracks further open still, it is the effort of the process of emerging that makes change possible. Waking up, rolling away the stone, unwrapping what will be.
Good morning. So just before our story starts, Jesus has been traveling from place to place with his disciples, teaching and often doing miracles. Right before this story, Jesus was in a place where the people did not believe in him, so he didn't do very many miracles. Then he got the news that his cousin, John the Baptist, had been murdered by the government. And hearing this news is where our story begins. Listen to the story with your ears, your eyes, your heart. And if you want to see or hear better, you can come on closer and help everyone to participate. Plus the camera can see you better. So when Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw the large crowd, he had compassion on them, and he healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place, and it's already getting really late. Send the crowds away so that they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." We have here, so the disciples said, "We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." We'll pretend this is 2. And he said, "Well, bring them here to me." And he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. Oh, he might have taken a nap during that. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides the women and children. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Amen.
I'm just clarifying what I'm seeing. It looked like we started with just a little bit of bread, and all of a sudden on that flat tabletop, as it had been blessed, now there's a lot of fish and a lot of bread, and it looks like there's plenty where there used to be hardly any at all.
Plenty and then some.
Yeah, plenty and then some.
So I invite you to wander along with me about today's story as we create the sermon together. If you would like to respond to today's story with more than words, we have crayons and paper on the front bench. So first we'll start. I wonder what you think the people who Jesus healed did once they were well. And like Sarah and Krista said, we'll do the awkward silence if nobody has anything to say just yet. Of course. I wonder what you think the people who Jesus healed, the crowd, did once they were well.
I'm Reeves. I've thought about that. I saw Claudia, and she said, "I'm doing so much better," which makes me really happy. But I suspect that the people who had been healed, just like Claudia, would like to tell people how they're doing? I think they would want to share their story.
Yeah.
I agree, says the peanut gallery.
The peanut gallery said I agree.
Yeah, off mic, I know.
Yes.
So I wonder why Jesus told his disciples to feed the people instead of sending them away.
Okay, I got another thought about that. Sorry. I wanted to comment on Reeves. I wanted to first of all say that Jesus' crowd control technique is amazing when he says, okay, everybody sit down. When you've got a big crowd of people, and any teacher will tell you this, as soon as everybody sits down, it's a lot easier to manage. I also have empathy for the disciples who are saying, in your enthusiasm, you are missing an important public safety detail. And that is, we don't have food for everybody here. It's about to get night, and we need to start to take in some practical concerns. And we know you're thinking about heavenly stuff, but meanwhile, it's the kind of stuff that the fire marshal thinks of, or maybe that every good mom thinks of, that we have some, before we keep everybody up past their bedtime, there's some practical things we need to attend to.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sarah was just saying that when you have a party today, you're always worried you don't have enough food, so you overplan too usually. But it always ends up working out.
I think it's a melding also of the feeding the soul and the feeding the bellies. So.
Well, I just shared that when I was reading this too, I wondered, so Jesus was alone, right? And he was trying to get some peace and quiet, because I would assume maybe that he was pretty sad about John. And then he comes to this crowd, and I wonder if he thought they were there for him. He came from a town of, people didn't really believe in him, right? And they probably kind of just brushed him off, maybe. And then they hear that somebody close to him died. And then I wonder if some of those people were there to support him, not necessarily be healed. And that made him feel even more compassion, and I don't know. And so when he could have sent them away, maybe he thought, well, no, stay. Thank you for showing up. Let's eat together. I don't know.
Christy's comment reminded me of last week, because we were talking, Steve Zimowski, about the daily bread.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether that was physical daily bread, or like Christy said, spiritual daily bread. But Steve said, no, the bread would have been very important to survival, but maybe in two different ways, just like this. So what was feeding them, was it physical or was it spiritual?
Yeah, so Sarah pointed out, last week we were talking about daily bread and wondering if this bread was physical, because they were probably very hungry after traveling and waiting around all day, but was it more spiritual as well? Could have been.
And they are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, Reeves said they're not mutually exclusive.
Also, maybe when you're so sad, like Jesus probably was, maybe it was very healing for him to feed other people. We do this all the time when people pass away,
Yeah,
And
and
you sit Shiva, and people come over and eat and share stories, and
yeah,
we do a wake. But maybe that was healing to him to help the crowd.
yeah. So Sarah said that maybe it was healing to feed the crowd, for Jesus to feed the crowd. Kind of like, at funerals and stuff, we feed the crowd, wondering if that was almost cathartic to Jesus. And then I was also wondering too, so they only had 5 loaves and 2 fish, and if these people, or some of them, showed up to support Jesus because he was sad, or maybe they were sad themselves. When we passed the baskets, did they give what they had and donated so that everyone could share? I was wondering.
So rabbi means teacher, I think. Is that right? Is that one of the translations of it? So we know Jesus was a teacher, and teachers are always looking for teachable moments. That moment when you can make something come alive in a way that people will never forget. So back to your original question, why do you think he asked them to feed one another rather than just sending everybody home? Maybe it's because Jesus, the teacher, knew this was a teachable moment, a moment to transform people. And I love the fact that parables are usually about something very specific, as Sarah was saying, is it physical food? And also there's a metaphor involved. And I love the fact that so many people in the metaphor would say, whatever it is you're asking of me, I don't have enough. I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not influential enough. I'm not whatever it might be. And Jesus said, maybe we have more than we know when we take a leap of faith together.
I always look at the feeding of the 5,000 from the 5 loaves of bread, and I liken it to communion. Because if you have a 1 loaf of bread in communion, you can feed a whole church and their souls.
Wow.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wish you would.
I'm Krista, and my mom, growing up, was always like, "This is not a real miracle," and her argument was that not even everybody shared, but if everybody just took a little bit, then everybody would still be fed, right, and it would feel like a miracle. And I remember being a teenager and teaching a Catholic Sunday school, and I came home one day and I was like, you know what? Even if everybody only took a little bit, that's still a miracle, right? That sense of we don't, it might be that everybody added what they have, which I love. It's that nod toward communion, right? We use the same words. We take the bread, we bless it, we break it, right? That we don't have to know exactly what's going on, but there's at least one miracle happening here, and I'm grateful y'all opened my eyes to that.
Yeah, even in the crowd just showing up, I feel was miraculous, maybe. Because it said that, they didn't believe, so. So the question, I wonder what we can learn from the way there were so many baskets left over after everyone had eaten until they were satisfied.
Maybe.
Hi, I'm Bob. I think one of the lessons, one possible interpretation is that there was so much left over kind of symbolizes that if everybody contributes what little they have, there will be plenty for everyone, plenty and then some, as they say. So there's actually some left over. It didn't seem like there was nearly enough, but everybody contributes and there's enough for everyone.
Hello, I'm Hugo. I think that if we have that much left over, that means that we can bring more people into our community.
Yeah, I wonder if the whole point was to be, if we're all together, we have enough. Should get you a lav mic, I think. I'm just kidding. No, please. No, please. I love when you share. I love. It's a compliment, yes. I love when you share.
I think Jesus is inviting us to shift from the fear of a scarcity mentality to the joy of a spirit of abundance.
Ooh, mic drop.
I'm Shirley. With the thing of having the scarcity in the beginning and having stuff over, overflowing at the end. It brings to mind of my experiences with working with musicians, is that when you bring something a little together, that the whole combined thing ends up being much bigger than the sum of just the individual parts.
Hi, I'm Deb. I think we kind of skipped over something that was important in that he had his disciples divide up the horde of people into groups, smaller groups. And I wonder if that's a message to us about the importance of, while we gather as a whole, that we should continue to gather in smaller groups to nourish one another in a more private setting. Yeah. Because, or although he said it was to have a banquet on the grass, and the image is Ravinia to me, so that we're enjoying something massive, but yet we're together in a small group.
Well, thank you all for wandering along with me today about this story. If you have crayons, which I don't think anybody took any, we can clean up, and we can move on to praying for each other, or blessing of the backpacks.
Well, we'll pray eventually, but
Oh,
not.
not yet. Not yet.